Far more interesting to me is top-line growth. This is where it's at. Everybody talks about how you can do server consolidation with virtual machines, and you can go and you can reduce your cost for your current IT. But that's nowhere near as interesting as how can you generate new revenue. New revenue comes from new ideas and new ways of doing things. It requires business agility, right? And you have to be able to do things you couldn't do before, right? Some barriers have to come down. And that's what cloud computing enables. That notion of getting 10,000 servers at one time for an hour for $100. Automotive. This is one of the early use cases for Amazon, and they were talked about in the press extensively. This is very, very interesting. You have these network effects happening now when you've got very large platforms like Facebook with 500 million users on it, and there's some platforms inside of China with even more users on it. And you deliver a new application or game to those platforms, and if you even have a marginal uptick, if you have some kind of viral effect, 10% of 500 million users is 50 million users adopting your application or game in short order, in days or weeks, right? Animoto met that need with using Amazon Web Services, and they were able to add 4,000 servers literally overnight. You can't hire enough people, and you can't install enough network to put 4,000 servers up to meet that kind of demand, right? And you can't go and deploy 4,000 servers in the hopes that your app will take off. You can't possibly do that because you'll be fired. I remember the height of the .com bubble in the United States of America. There were a lot of venture funding companies who had, taken tens or hundreds of millions of dollars, and they would do these huge launches and build out infrastructure for their application that they were launching. And there was one that was competing with Salesforce.com called Sales.com by Siebel. They spent $12 million on infrastructure to build a software as a service, on-demand CRM application using SQL in a data center, and nobody came. They shut that whole project down. Just $12 million in infrastructure built out for no purpose whatsoever. Right? So that's part of what's changing the game. Eli Lilly, one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world, they moved from taking 8 weeks to bring up a drug trial test lab environment to taking 5 minutes. Right? What's the business value for Eli Lilly for every time they have to bring up a new environment? It takes 5 minutes instead of 8 weeks. Yeah, right? I don't know what it is. I know that it's a lot. And so just something about it. This is my favorite one to tell. And there's a U.S. electronics retailer that has a phenomenal story. I cannot name them because I have this from inside information. But essentially, the story goes like this. 2 developers, without permission, went outside to a cloud computing service provider, and they developed a new application using Ruby on Rails, which probably is not a correct programming language or vetted application stack inside that business. And they used 2 virtual machines, and they took 2 months to basically build this recommendation system. Then they connected this recommendation system to their .com web property. At checkout, customers would see other applications or other goods that they may want to purchase based on what was already in their shopping cart. And that started driving 25% additional revenue across the board. 2 developers, 2 months, 2 virtual machines, maybe a few $100s, driving 25% additional revenue for this business. I mean, this is what we're bottling up now inside of our large enterprises, or even mid-tier enterprises, and even small businesses, because we don't allow people to get the level of agility that they need. They are hobbled by process, they're hobbled by bureaucracy, and by what's essentially large monopolistic information technology teams inside the business who don't have any competition. And that's fundamentally changing. And that's where the opportunity lies. It lies in unlocking people and allowing them to do what they're best at, which is to be creative and to help drive new opportunities for the business. So speaking of opportunities, let's talk about Korea. Korea is an amazing country, right? In very short order, it's become a $1 trillion economy, right? It's the first country in Asia Pac to host the G20 summit. I mean, it's just an amazing story, right? And there's no signs of it stopping. It's been an incredible technology leader. Seoul is the #1 digital city in the world. You have a track record around electronics that's amazing. They're the #1 broadband country for broadband multiple years in a row now. And the Korean government is committed to spend 107 trillion won on clean technology. Cloud is just another technology and another opportunity for Korea to be one of the best at it. So I'd like to talk briefly about KT. We helped KT in 8 months deliver not one cloud, not 2 clouds, but 3 clouds. 3 clouds in 8 months. A private cloud, a cloud designed to deliver mobile phone applications, and a public cloud that's currently in closed beta. So you can talk to them if you'd like to see more. And the public beta launch of their public cloud happens on the 13th of this month. Let's talk about benefits number 1 and number 2, bottom line and top line. KT has already seen a 5x reduction in CapEx. And, we're 3 months into this project. I mean, shouldn't that pretty much tell you should be scrambling to build your own private cloud right away? Perhaps more importantly, KT's time to provision virtual machines and to allow their internal teams to self-service is reduced dramatically from weeks and months to minutes. So, short story about how KT did it. So first of all, they followed the path of Amazon and Google. Then they used open source, which meant using open source software running on top of commodity hardware, innovative engineering, designing for the best price performance, or targeting for the best price performance, and then designing for failure. This is a picture of the Mars lander, the very last one, and I'd like to talk about this briefly because it can be a little hard to understand. What does design for failure mean? This is one of the new ways of doing IT, building IT, where I mean it's fundamentally part of cloud computing. When I say that things are new or different, this is what I mean. In the past, we said, how many nines is it? Is it designed for 3 nines at a time? Is it designed for 4 or for 5? How about it's designed for no nines? It's designed to never be off. How can it be designed to never be off? Well, it's designed so that we never have to take it down for maintenance. And it's designed so that when it fails, the whole thing can never fail. Only a part of it can fail. So we get a partial outage. We never have the whole thing fall over. And if you look at Google and Amazon, this is what they've done. Amazon.com, the retail website, releases thousands of new code changes to the website every day. Every day. Google, have you ever seen Google down? Your mail might be down, but if you call your friend and you say, hey, can you get into Google Mail? They probably can. Why? Because it's not built in a monolithic way. It's designed in a distributed, decentralized way using cloud computing techniques so the whole system cannot fall over. Only a piece of it can fall over. So I'm going to leave you with a final 6-step plan to really figure out how to take advantage of this for yourselves. First of all is embrace the change. You know, there's something that funny that happens when you look at some of the innovation that occurs in the United States. We all know that some of the innovation that occurs in the United States, there tends to be sort of a fast follower thing that happens outside. People will say, Europe lags the United States by 2 years. Asia lags the United States by 4 years. Follows. Well, one of the advantages of being a fast follower sometimes is that you can learn how to do it better than the first guys, right? Look at the electronics industry, right? Or the automotive industry, right? Fast following is an opportunity, and the only barrier to that is that you are afraid to embrace the change. If you say we can't be leaders in cloud computing because you're afraid that you can't throw out Oracle, or you can't do something different than you've done before because you might be fired, then you're not going to be a successful fast follower on this one, right? The opportunity is now, while there is a gap, to figure out what these leaders have done, to copy it and to do it better and smarter. That's what our business is focused on, and I think that that's what KT has largely done with their cloud. So embrace the change, don't fight it. You've got to go figure out how this technology works now. You've got to go work on deploying your own private clouds. You've got to do research. You've got to embrace public clouds. You can't go, oh, we can't use the public cloud because it's not secure. Why can't you use the public cloud to understand it? Right? Why can't you put non-secure applications on the public cloud? The answer is it's time to use the technology now to understand it now. And that's part of the process of educating yourselves and your teams and really understanding how you can do things differently. You've got to talk to the cloud pioneers. You've got to talk to the folks who did it first. You've got to understand what they did to be successful. You've got to start to figure out a strategy for actually being one of the disruptors and not the disrupted, and actually figuring out how to use this to your advantage. And then you've got to execute, which is usually the hardest part of meeting plan. And in that model, the sooner you start executing and making mistakes, the better, right? This business I'm in right now today, cloud scaling, we're small. And this is the 15th startup that I've been involved with. And startups can tell us something that large companies can't. Right? There's a mantra for startups. They say fail faster. Make mistakes so that you learn. You cannot learn without making those mistakes. Part of the execution plan should be to embrace this technology immediately, make the mistakes, do it on a basis where you reduce your risk in terms of your costs, of course, but to learn and educate your teams now so that as things get more and more competitive over time, you will be well placed. So really the one thing I want you to leave with here today is that I want you to be part of the disruption. I don't want you to be one of the disrupted. I hope you will actually look at cloud computing as an opportunity